Hello and welcome back to another episode of Transport Fever 2. We're here in Brookshire County on our iron ore line, and in this video we're going to continue working on improving all of our steel connections, and then we're going to look around and try to make some tiny improvements across the map if we have time. And so we have this iron ore train, which where we left it off in the last video, we weren't too sure if it was going to work out or not, because we found out that some of our trains were stopping at this signal and then therefore greatly slowing down the train's trip up the hill and around to get up to this station. We've been letting it run for a little bit, and although we don't have anything too conclusive just yet, we can see here in the most recent financial graph tick that we might be able to close this gap a little bit if this last train can get in, but we'll come back in just a moment to check on that. And so if we can keep this train at only losing us at worst a few $1 million, I'm not opposed to just keeping it the way it is, since again our main money comes from all of the steel that we're producing. But if we do end up losing a considerable amount of money on this line continuously, we may have to resort to adding a few more cars, although we don't have much room for that, especially down at the steel mill. But if the numbers really are that close, then it could just be a matter of a few cars could fix a lot of the issues that we have here. Alright, so I think the first thing we're going to really start to take a look at here is our steel, and we'll figure out exactly how much steel we'll need to be producing here overall to meet all of our target demands, and then we can adjust all the other lines accordingly. So I think first we started off with our goods train here, and let's come over. I believe we're looking to completely max out this one factory, so this would be requesting 800 units of steel. And then if we come over here and we take a look at our machines factory, currently we're operating at about 400 to 500. I think we want to get that higher. Let's see how many planks we're bringing in. So we're bringing in almost 700 planks. So I think ideally we want to be bringing in about 700 steel. And so if we add those numbers together, 800 and 700, that gets us to a total of 1,500 steel that we want to be coming out of here eventually. And so if we add up the production numbers that all of these have currently, we're currently able to push out a total of 1,120 steel out of our current existing industries that we have here, which is a little bit below where we want to be. But if we take a look here, we can see we're not even shipping 100% on some of these, which I believe means that some of these resources just don't have a destination to get to. So let's make sure that our numbers match up, that we are getting 500 machines out of here, and that we have potential for the 700 that we're planning for. And then the one that I think is holding us up, which is the goods factory, making sure that we're able to get a total of 800 goods out of this one, spread across the cities that we're currently providing. However, first and foremost, if we want to get as much out of our goods as possible, we're going to need to fix this traffic situation that we dug ourselves into in the last video by adding so many trucks all at once. And so I think this is a relatively easy fix. I think we're just going to get a second truck stop back here, and that's where we'll have one of our drop-offs or our pickup come through there. Maybe we'll leave this one as a pickup station, and then this one back here will be a drop-off. So this oil line will come into this station here. So let's get that built. Alright, and so I think this is what we're going to do. We created sort of a one-way street loop here with 2 unload stops. So I think we'll break our oil line into 2 separate lines and route them one to each station here. And then hopefully that'll break up this demand enough to where we don't have such a severe traffic jam. And so let's start off by grabbing this, and we will delete that connection, bring it here instead. And so we can already start to see that that actually did kind of help out a good bit. So maybe we'll just leave it at 1 unload stop for now and see if this can clear up. And if this doesn't clear up, we'll split the line into 2 lines of each 400 rate. Alright, so now things are running pretty smoothly here. Actually, I didn't think it would end up this clear after we got all that traffic cleaned up, but we did run into another problem, and that is I forgot that we're trying to get this industry maxed out at 800, which means instead of targeting 800 for this line, we need to actually target closer to 1600, which now that our trucks are freed up, it looks like we might be getting pretty close. And then for this chemical line, we will also need to clean up the rate here. We might just give it a moment to see if it updates anything. I can't remember if we set this up to 800 in the last video or not, but it looks like our oil line is actually pretty close to 1600. So we'll just let things sort of sort out here for a little bit, and then we can check some of our other feeder lines to make sure those are operating at the rate we need them to. Alright, so now let's make sure that we're generating the demand that we need. So the 800 goods coming out of this factory, and currently it looks like we have just under 500, which matches with whatever this number is. And so our biggest supplier obviously being Roswell, as that's right here. It looks like we might be able to get more, so let's see if there's an easy way we could just increase that number. And I think all of our goods are located in this one area, so this is our goods stop. We'll pause and maybe just relocate this in a spot that gets all of the buildings that need goods. And so that looks like it might be... It looks like that might be right about here. So that should automatically reroute to there. We want to make sure that we'll be able to handle those goods. So 240, our current line rate is 170. Let's see if we have better trucks. And so we are pretty much using the best truck that we can for this use. I think we'll just get 2 more trucks. That should get us close to 240, 212, maybe 1 more truck. 234, I think that's just about a perfect number for how much we cover. So that should start to increase our demand there. And then our next biggest supplier of goods is Salt Lake City. And I believe we were requesting about 130 from the goods factory, but we're only delivering 86 in Salt Lake City at the moment. But let's just make sure that we're covering everything we can for Salt Lake City, so 170. This goods line can only do 88. But let's just make sure that that is where all the goods are. And it looks like it is, so I think we'll just double the amount of trucks on this line. Hopefully that won't hurt traffic too much in Salt Lake City, but it doesn't look like we have too much building up anywhere. We do have goods and tools all coming to one stop, which might not be the best, so we'll come back and we'll check in on this once our other trucks settle into the route. But now already that should almost cover half of the amount of goods that we need. I believe between Roswell and Salt Lake City, ideally we're set up for about 300 goods between those two. Houston, Pittsburgh, and Portland are other receivers of goods. So let's take a look at Houston. Houston needs 182, and it looks like we have a stop that covers all of those. And our goods truck is ready to cover most of that. So I think it really comes down to how many resources we're able to bring on these boats over. And we take a look, we're only able to bring about 700 resources on this line. So, and we have to split that with machines. So I definitely think we need to increase this by almost double. But I'm not a huge fan of getting that many boats. Let's see if maybe we've unlocked any new ones. And yeah, unfortunately it looks like we're still stuck with this boat for the time being. We should be unlocking bigger cargo ships soon, so in the meantime, we'll just duplicate this, get these numbers up a bit more. I think maybe we'll target a line rate of around 1100 or 1200. We won't go completely double, as that might be a little overkill. And so that'll bring us up to 1,115. I think that should be good enough for all the machines and goods we'd plan on bringing through here. Our next line is our goods transfer line, which is moving about 400. I think maybe we want to bring that up closer to 500. We can figure this out pretty easily. If we look at our Portland goods at 141, Salt Lake at 177, and Houston at 182. If we just do some quick rounding math and accounting for growth, this line should be at about 600. So we'll get those numbers up. So now this sits at about 600. I have no worry that our goods train is able to bring 600 goods back, given the makeup of the train. So we're not going to worry about doing any of the math there. Alright, and so then coming back to our steel mill, I think we're currently limited by our coal numbers looking at all of these industries. So I think let's try to make sure that we're getting enough coal and iron out of here to max out our existing industries, and then we can start to scale that up once we get there. And so because it's a 2-to-1 ratio for iron to steel, or iron and coal to steel, if we want to get the full 1100 resources out of all of our steel mills, we'll need about 2200 rate of iron and coal coming in here. So let's first break down our iron. That's coming in at a rate of 1800, and then this line here is coming in at a rate of about 800. So we definitely have more than enough capacity to handle it. However, the issue is our iron trains aren't leaving completely full, which means I think we need to add another iron ore mine up here to our group of industries. So now the way I wanted to do this was to just pretty much get a block of 4 iron mines here. We'll see if that works out. We might run into connection issues, as I'm not sure if this... Yeah, I don't think this station will be able to reach to the one out here. But that's okay, we could probably have a truck line move them closer to the train station later on when we need it. So let's quickly get these industries here, and then that should be more than enough resources to provide for this train station. Alright, so now we have all 4 of our iron ore industries here. This should be more than enough for everything that we'll need. We can see this one's connected up and producing. This one does not seem to be connected up. Yeah, we can see it doesn't reach all the way out here, so that's fine. We'll just get that connected up eventually when we need it. But now we should be producing enough iron ore out of these to very easily service the trains that are coming through here. Now I think we'll have to do the same thing for the coal mines. However, I do like the look of these coal mines, so I think we might just place down one of these freestyle industries and just sort of artificially create that production. So this will be an output. I think we'll just throw this right next to the station so we don't really have to worry about it. And we'll have it producing coal. And then we'll set this up to be producing 800, which is how much the iron ore mine was going to be producing. And so then we should just have to place that like so. And then we now have this producing coal for this station here. And now quickly while we're here, I think we could add some minor details to this coal mine just to help bring it to life a tiny bit more, since we haven't gotten around to doing that just yet. So let's quickly detail this up, and then we'll take a look at our train lines, and hopefully by then they'll have delivered a couple of full loads of resources by then. Alright, so this is where we're going to leave this off. It was just some light details that we added in. Obviously there's more to do here, and maybe a bit more with blending the terrains, but I'm pretty happy with this. I think we've given the trains a chance to get at least a few loads of full resources going back and forth. If we check this train, this one's actually not full. So maybe something's going on there. I think maybe our numbers are still shifting because of demand, but we should start to see these numbers going up as we supply more coal. Alright, so now, even though we've balanced out all these things, and we should be allowing our iron trains and coal trains to operate at full capacity, we're still not getting that full capacity coming into these steel industries, despite us being able to bring in the max amount of resources. So I'm a little stumped as to what's going on here. The only thing I can think of still is our goods line is not fully optimized to produce 800 goods yet, which we can see here we do have some issues we need to fix. So I think if we want to operate at that full 1600 line rate for bringing in oil, I think we are going to have to split this into 2 separate lines, and hopefully getting 2 drop-offs will be okay. If not, we might just have to put another station somewhere across the street here. So I think first we'll need to manage the vehicles, and we'll end up needing to select 50 so we can split this line perfectly in half. Alright, so now that we have 50 of those vehicles selected, we will essentially just make the same line, except the other drop-off is going to be here. We'll make sure it's set up properly. And so now we should see half of these trucks go to this drop-off and the other half go to this drop-off. That might not perfectly fix our problems, but it should help get more trucks through here at once. And so I think this is going to be another waiting game of where we just wait for these trucks, see if they clear out with this new line change, and then go from there. Alright, and so things are looking up here at the oil refinery. The traffic still isn't great, but I think that's just because our lines are still not really mixed in well, so it's only really one drop-off at a time. I suppose we could have designed this better so that it doesn't rely on that, but I think for the most part this will slowly even out over time, which will give us less of this traffic backup once the trucks can easily just get to whichever stop they need to. But you can see here our oil refinery is upgrading. That's the first time I think we've had these numbers this high, so that's exciting to see. And if we take a look at our line rates, these are still a little on the low end, but I think if we can just get the traffic situation sorted out, I'll be more than happy with that. I think we are just going to have to put in a new station over here that might just be for the oil pickup, and then we can turn this into a drop-off as well, and maybe just keep one of the lines coming over here just so that we can still keep them separated. And actually, I think let's just do that regardless. I think it's needed either way. So we'll just get a truck station on this side of the road. I think it's just colliding with the industry, so we'll get everything built up. And then I think we'll keep it separate from this intersection, so we'll just build it somewhere in the middle here. So we could probably do something like this, and that'll be just fine. And then what we can do is find this, and instead of going to this station, we'll add a new one, and it'll come here instead. And then we'll make sure it's set up properly. And now those two lines do not cross over with each other at all, and we shouldn't have any issues going forward with traffic. Alright, and then we'll just grab, I guess we'll grab this line and this one, or no, we'll use the one that's using this drop-off. We'll manage you, take it out of here, drop off there, and we'll just have it unload here at this platform. Now I think this one would be able to handle handle both of the lines coming in here, but I think we'll just keep them separated just so we can see some use coming out of these stops that we placed over here. And so we can see already that immediately cleared up our traffic, and hopefully we'll see in our line rates once things get adjusted that these will go up to 800. Our chemicals line I saw was up at 800 for a while, so I think it's just some inconsistencies in the line due to the traffic buildup, but hopefully if we let this run for a little bit, it'll start to even itself out. And so we'll just leave this to run in the background now, and I believe we'll start to see these numbers go up. I guess we can now go back and check in on our steel mill. These numbers still aren't looking amazing yet, but they are getting closer. I think we can see our trains are coming back completely full, or at least very close to full. So that's definitely an improvement. Our coal trains are moving full loads of coal. So I think everything is starting to work out. I think it's just a matter of waiting for the demand numbers to build up. Alright, so the last thing I want to do is we do need some more coal. It seems like we have a sort of imbalance between coal and iron. So I want to fine-tune this coal line to be a little bit higher than the iron line rate. So the iron line sits at about 1800 rate. Our coal line sits at just under 1700. And I think the way we're going to go about it is we're going to drop some cars off the end of each one of these trains. So we'll do something like that. This will allow our trains to get up to their top speed a little bit quicker, since our coal trains aren't actually reaching their top speed of 75 miles an hour. And so that might save us some money. But now you can see here, after we cut down the cars and added another train, our rate now sits at about 1850, which I think is a good stopping point. We'll wait, see if we can get some coal to build up at these industries, and then maybe then we'll get a little bit more accurate reading on how much steel we can be getting out of this industry area. And so I now want to take a look at our iron line finances and see how that has changed. It looks like it's gotten a little bit better. This period here in particular, it looks like we only lost 5 million on the line. That's still not great, but I think this leaves us at a point where we might be able to just throw on some extra cars to make up that difference, or pretty soon maybe just a different train composition. We can maybe cut down on running costs in certain areas, but I think it's still within reach to keep the existing tracks. I'm just not fully sold on any particular solution just yet. And so while we wait for things here to change, I think now let's head over to our city of Pittsburgh, and we'll just give it some quick extensions of the road. I don't think we're going to extend our bus network, even though we probably should. I think I just want to get the roads laid out so that the city can properly grow, and then maybe in an upcoming video we'll redo the buses and trams and such going through Pittsburgh. And so really I think all that we're going to do is extend up the rivers a little bit. We're going to get rid of this chunk that the city just started to randomly start growing. So that's going to be a lot of demand that we need to pretty much refill. So we'll grow up the rivers on this side. On this side as well, I think we'll clean up this road connection, probably get rid of this coal mine. I don't think we're going to extend too far down this way just yet. It doesn't seem like the city's necessarily filling in these blocks too hard, so I don't think we need to extend down this way much. I think it's mostly up the sides of the rivers here, and maybe we'll smooth out this ridge line and get a few more blocks here, but I think that's the plan, and then we will be back once we're done with that. Alright, and so I think with that, that's going to be all that we add in this video. So let's take a closer look at the changes we've made in this video, and then when we come back, we'll take a look at the steel mill, see if that's improved much at all, and some of our other lines to see if those resources are getting distributed. And then after that, we'll talk about some next steps and future projects. Alright, and so now that we're back, let's take a closer look at a lot of our steel mill lines. So if we take a look here at the iron line that's currently passing, one exciting thing that we can see almost immediately is that we were actually able to get really close to overcoming our running costs in the most recent financial period. Now, it doesn't seem that that'll be consistent, but it does bode well for at least keeping this line. So that'll be exciting to analyze further as time continues to move on and we get a more consistent flow of resources out of here. And then taking a look at the coal line, for some reason some of these trains aren't leaving completely full yet, but it's probably still adjusting to the line rate changes. We don't have accurate data yet on that. However, it does look like it'll be close. I'm not sure why it would be close since our previous trains weren't too profitable, but maybe the increase in speed does make a difference, but it's pretty hard to tell for sure. So anyway, taking a look here, it looks like these have started to bump up production. All of them are starting to push closer to 300, which is good. That means that we're pretty much right at that 1100 target that we had earlier. We did upgrade this one to match all the other industries at the 320 production mark. These ships are getting closer to leaving completely full, so that's something exciting to see. That means our machines will start to ramp up production more. It looks like this is pushing up into the 600s and hopefully soon closer to the 700s. And then if we take a look at our goods, it looks like the oil's doing well. Following that up, it looks like traffic is actually doing very well up here. Our oil refinery is pushing close to 800, so that is right where we wanted it to be. This line rate is hovering around 800. So that's exactly what we needed as well. So I think things are really starting to smooth themselves out. Down here, this seems like it's slowly getting there. I think we have to wait for a lot of these trucks to make their way down. But sure enough, this chemical plant will start to push up closer to 800. And then that means coming over here to this goods factory, these numbers are slowly starting to rise. Now, it's not quite there yet, but it is going a little bit higher. We're almost at 500 here. We actually have some goods waiting at some of our platforms. You can see Roswell is getting a lot of its goods. However, I think a lot of it's just going to be waiting for those other production lines to scale up and make their way through the resource chains. And then lastly, let's take a look at this boat line here and see how things are going there. I think some of these boats, I don't think this is fully reflective of our actual efforts just yet, because a lot of these boats, they do move extremely slow. So a lot of the ones we put in this video probably haven't even made it to their first stop yet. But we are moving a lot of resources. All of these boats, well, this boat's not leaving completely full, and it looks like this one might not be either, but once our other resource chains start to appropriately increase their production, these boats should start being able to leave completely full, and we should start being able to just get a ton of money from this line. I think we might even start looking into sometime soon bringing resources on the return trip. Now, I'm not too sure what that would be. I mean, we have food, tools, construction materials, and fuel that we could probably pretty easily send on the return trip, but there's not many destinations here that necessarily need anything. Now, the only thing would be fuel, but I'm not sure if these ships can take fuel. I think with ships, it's usually either one or the other, but let's just take a look here. So it does look like this one can take fuel, but obviously it'd be a lot more optimized if we could use some of these fuel tankers to move fuel instead, but since this ship is running half empty over the course of the whole line, I think it might make sense to bring fuel in, especially since we aren't producing fuel anywhere else on the map at the moment. So maybe we can bring it in. Maybe we have a drop-off point here at the food processing plant, and this becomes a bit of a hub where then we can send fuel to Allentown and easily send fuel to Pittsburgh. Or maybe we bring it back to this machines factory and then we can send fuel all the way to Roswell. However, that would make our goods train a lot more complicated, so maybe not that route, but I think maybe there's definitely an opportunity with fuel somewhere in this area to serve Pittsburgh and Allentown while also making a bit of extra money on this boat line. I think we just have to figure out the logistics of it when we get there. And so talking about our next steps, I think extending this highway is becoming an increasing priority. I think we definitely want to get that connected to the other cities on the map, especially because we're in the year 1942. We should probably have some form of connection between these cities that isn't just our train lines. So I think that's going to be one of our main focuses next. And now I do want to start coming back into that idea of getting a cargo hub near Tacoma, or a larger cargo station near Tacoma, so that we can start to deliver some of the vital resources to the city. It's doing pretty well despite only having one resource out of the 6. So if we can supply any of the other 5 resources, I think Tacoma will be in a really good place to expand in population. We could probably fill out all of this area, come well out into this field, and probably run all the way up to this hill and where our train line is. But that's something that'll take a long time to grow. But I think maybe we'll start thinking about getting that cargo station somewhere in this area, so we have a direct connection with the cargo hub over here by Roswell. And then I think one of the next projects I want to have is really expanding Allentown. This city has a lot of potential, and I just think that we haven't really given it much attention to really grow into that. I do think it is our smallest city on the map if we take a look at some of these graphics here. So Lincoln is actually the smallest one, but that's by design. Lincoln's supposed to be small. I think Allentown We wanted it to be a large city, and it's our second smallest at the moment. So I think we'll get Allentown really starting to really come up and grow pretty soon. We might have to redesign this train line so that we can extend across the water. And then we could do some stuff here with the flat area and then the low area down here. And then of course we just have all of this space to expand into around this little mountain here. But I think Allentown definitely has a lot of potential, and it's also a good candidate for extending our highway. So we might also be able to tie it into that, so then Portland and Allentown have a connection. I think where we left off with this highway it's a little awkward here, so maybe we will just fill in the land and then figure out a way to go from there. But getting our way over to Allentown is going to be a little rough, but I think we could figure it out pretty easily with a highway network. Alright, and so with that, I think we're going to end this video off here. So if you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions or feedback, leave a comment below. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.